Welcome back to Uncharted Waters with Admiral Waters. I'm your co-host, Lieutenant Commander Kenneth Bradley. Lock in with us as we have a conversation about mission and mindset pertaining to all things Navy recruiting. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And share it with everyone. Send it to your mom, send it to your dad, send it to yourself and watch it 50 billion times. All right, let's get into the conversation. Today we're going to talk about Spec Ops. And we have these two very amazing petty officers. We're going to do a deep dive into that topic. Before we get into it, though, and I don't know if you knew this, sir, but I almost was Spec Ops.
Really? Almost?
I wasn't that guy.
Do you know what almost Spec Ops is?
Not Spec Ops.
Not Spec Ops.
But come to find out, it just wasn't good enough, so I chose something Spec Ops adjacent, and I became a yeoman. Moving forward. So we love our yeoman, though. So you have a flag writer, so I hope he watches the podcast.
She does. Love our yeoman.
Love our yeoman. All right. So today we have AO2 Spruill from Region East and AWS2 Voelz from Region West. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. Been in the Navy almost 8 years now. Joined out of Northern Idaho. We're in Spokane, Washington, a few hours away. Mm-hmm. I joined in between my junior and senior year of high school, so I was in that program for a while. And then as soon as I graduated, I was in the hotel for MEPS July 4th. So
nice.
I was patriotic.
Yes.
Boot camp. I was an air crewman, right? So I went to boot camp. I went down to Pensacola, the Air Crew Candidate School, went through all my stuff, went training squadron, and then I was flew on MH-53 Echoes with Elmira 14 out in Norfolk, Virginia, which is now sundown, so it doesn't exist anymore.
But you do know about hydraulic leaks.
I do know a lot about hydraulic leaks, yes.
with a 53, right? Yes, it is absolutely true that if it's not leaking, it's empty.
100%. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I don't think I own a flight suit that doesn't have hydraulic stain somewhere.
There you go. But
yeah, I've loved every day of it. I enjoy what I've done so far. Now I'm here recruiting out of Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix for about 1.5 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's amazing. And thank you for what you do.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I'm AO2 Spruill. I've been in Navy 10 years also. I joined out of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I've been in Virginia. After Virginia, I went to NMC Sigonella, and that's where I fell in love with my job. I get the pleasure of saying I have the best job in the Navy. Mm-hmm. I came recruiting October 2023, and I've had a great time since.
Yeah. And you're out of NTAG, Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And where exactly are you recruiting? You're in Maryland, right?
Yes, sir. NRS School in Bernie.
Yeah. So we had a chance to visit when I was there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Really good.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show. Let's go ahead and get into it. And this question is for the both of you. What are methods you found most effective in identifying high potential candidates for Navy Special Operations?
I think, especially for me, is getting the word out there. Right? I'm a special operations scout for my NTAG as well. So I work with my team as well with our coordinator, our mentor. So we do a lot of actual events opposed to we do some, presentations at high schools and whatnot. I mean, we're doing it all the time, but we do a lot of Spartan races. We'll set up a tent and the team will wear our Warrior Challenger special operations shirts and actually go run the Spartan race with them, right? So people see it, right? Staring at our back, hopefully. And they'll see, the logo on the back. So they'll ask questions about it. We'll have a tent set up with other people, man of the tent with the pull-up bar. Obviously the handouts, people talking about it all the time. So we'll do a lot of those. Just recently, unfortunately, I wasn't a part of it, but there was the Pat Tillman Marathon, right? People from our command went and ran that. Right? So we have people that see them doing that. They get interested in it. I think that's been probably the most beneficial. It's just, actually getting the word out there.
So you're going to places where people with high potential for NSO go themselves.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They'll obviously
fishing in the right pond.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And then, I've got a few people from high schools, sports teams, swim teams, football, wrestling, right? People that are already kind of used to high intensity work. Right. So that when we get them in the pool, when we have them run and do push-ups, pull-ups, they're already used to that kind of work.
Yeah, that's great.
I agree with what he said. Awareness is probably the biggest thing. Something that has worked really well for us is relationships. Keeping a great relationship with your spec war team, as far as coordinator and scouts and stuff. But not only that, also your COIs in the area too, mentors, fitness leaders around the area. Keeping that relationship with them has helped tremendously for us specifically.
Yeah, I think it's also really important before we go too much further into the podcast to highlight a couple things about the two of you. So you're here talking about NSO recruiting because you've both been very successful as NSO recruiters. And each of your NTAGs does it a little bit differently. You called yourself a scout, but the way NTAG Phoenix does it, you're dual-hatted. You're a line recruiter, on the bag for the mission to support your station, and you're an NSO scout, right? So there's no, I pulled this person, this high performer off the bag to go, just prospect around for NSO. You're doing that. And in Philadelphia, every recruiter is an NSO scout. That's the mantra, and is a nuke field scout, and is a,
Yes, sir.
all of it. So your role, you're not designated an NSO scout per se. You're a straight stick line recruiter out there on the bag for the whole mission to support your station and your division.
Yes, sir.
And been successful. Why don't you each of you tell Recruiting Nation just what your numbers are for NSO, just so that we have it.
I'm sitting at 7 contracts right now for the fiscal year.
Yeah.
I'm at 8, sir.
Yeah. So as we looked around the nation for, who's doing this right, your two names were, came to me as great examples for, how to do NSO recruiting right. And so that's what landed you on the couch here today. A brief trip to beautiful Millington, Tennessee. And for both of you, I think the first time at the headquarters,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah. So it's really great to have you here. I thank you for your work to get to, between the two of you, 15 contracts for our most difficult enlisted contracting mission. It's super impressive because when you think about it, we have to have the mission is about 2,400 contracts for the year total. So we have 3,500 recruiters. If every recruiter got just one, we'd be 1,100 over, and you guys are, just knocking it out of the park. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Ken, back to you.
But also, Spruill, how do you overcome the biggest challenges in finding qualified candidates, especially in areas with low awareness or interest in special operations ratings?
With the low interest, that is obviously our biggest challenge. Working with the spec war team, kind of like what Petty Officer Voelz was saying, the Spartan races and just advertising the program itself in general is a big help. Schools, table setups specifically designed to target spec war itself, maybe at athletic meets, not always just lunch table setups.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Petty Officer Voelz, what specific messaging or approaches have you used that consistently resonate with prospective special operations candidates?
Our biggest one is it's more of a challenge, right? If you're sometimes you'll get people that are deciding whether they want to join the Marines or the Navy, right? They want more of the physical aspect. Here's one for you, right? I invite them out to the pool, right? They come work out, see how it is, right? Typically they'll want to go with us.
Right.
It's more of a challenge, right? Like the brotherhood or sisterhood part of it, right? I mean, it's every NSO rate is a very close-knit community. Mm-hmm. As far as I know, right? I mean, they all kind of roll together, right? They typically friends with each other's families, right? So if they're looking for that bond, right? So I offer that to them. And, really be a part of the best of the best.
Yeah. I mean, this is really, a hyper example of where depth management really matters, right? It's that you bring them in But then they're typically, the NSO candidates are with you for longer than the typical future sailor in the process of earning a contract, right? And so it'll be really interesting as we go through this discussion today to get some perspective from you on how your organization, even if you're not directly, like for you, Pettis or Spruill, you're probably not, in that, that workout group with them because the way that Philadelphia does it, right? But you're aware,
Yes,
right? Sir. And so getting some perspective on how your two organizations do that, because it's this building of connectedness, that sense of I want to be part of that brotherhood or sisterhood. I really want it. That drives people to excel in the hard work to pass the PST. I mean, it's no joke, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
And speaking of PSTs, right into the next question, what advice or tools do you provide to help candidates prepare for and pass the PST?
I mean, for like me specifically, right, is having them set a routine training schedule, right? Have them actually stick to it. We hold them to a commitment, right? We use an app that you can put on your phone. It's called Strava, right? So we can actually track what their run was for the day, what their activities were. So we kind of hold them to that standard of, hey, you told me you want to do this. Let's see you do it.
I think that's a really great point, that that app to track their workout. It's really a trust but verify kind of accountability tool. A great example of a way to, start bringing in and identifying the ones that are really going to stick with it, because you can't pass and build the physical skill to excel unless you put the work in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, unless somehow you're a superhuman genetic freak or something.
Right.
There aren't too many of those.
No. Well, I was one of them.
Right.
See where that landed me. Pettis or Spruill, how have evolving physical and mental standards affected your approach to preparing candidates? And how do you keep them motivated throughout the process?
Keep them motivated throughout the process. I mean, the physical standards have changed since I've been here as a recruiter. But I haven't seen a change in the motivation aspect. A lot of them have, I could almost put my paycheck and say that every single one of them have given me the same reason of what got them to be motivated originally. And it was because they wanted to serve at a higher level than just normally joining or enlisting the military. They wanted to serve at the highest level that they could. So that's kind of been, I've kind of built off of that and kind of added that to my advertisement for the program itself. Serving your country at the, the highest level, sir.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think for the recruiters listening to this podcast, I hope they take that on board, because that is a sense of what drives these young people to do what most people would say, that's just too much pain, too much whatever. They are actively seeking that higher level. Some of them don't have it fully processed and can't quite get there, right? But the ones that do, that's the big driver. Yeah.
And Pettis or Voelz, what training or mentorship resources would better equip recruiters to guide candidates through the unique demands of the special operations pipeline?
I mean, really doing their research, right? Finding out exactly what they want to do. Like every time I have an applicant that says, even if they walk through my door and say, I want to be a Navy SEAL, right? I still go through every single Warrior Challenge rate, talk to them about it, right? Go through the whole pipeline with them. I have a whole PowerPoint that shows every single pipeline breakdown. So you'll see, hey, you are in training for this long. You're going to go through these 10 different schools to go and before you even do your job. And so definitely doing their own research, looking into actually what they want to do. For resources though, I mean, maybe, more like workout equipment, right? I mean, we just like our command just got some really nice, like portable pull-up bars. So I don't have to lug around this big heavy thing in the back of my truck anymore.
Right.
So, just having that, available to the candidates that want to do this, is extremely beneficial. Where like where we run my PST, we don't have a track, we don't have a pull-up bar. Right? I have to bring all that stuff when we run down the sidewalk to a light and come back. Right? So it's just down and back. So to have that stuff that I can bring to them and make it easier for them to train is extremely helpful.
Yeah. What aspect for both of you? What aspect of the PST tends to be the most challenging?
Swim, 100%.
Swim.
Yeah. And do you each have people in your NSO team that can teach technique? Like you feel like you've got that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because swimming is one of those things that, unlike running, technique can change your speed in the water dramatically, right? There are techniques for running, don't get me wrong, but not to the same impact that, how you hold your hands, how your fingers are, how you kick, all of that, how you breathe, all of that impacts your speed in the water. And so you've had some success in guiding people through that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But I imagine you find that there are kids that want to do this that don't have a lot of experience in the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's on us as a team to get them there. Yeah. Really good.
Professor Spruill, how have you used data, analytics, or social media to target and engage top-tier candidates more effectively?
Social media in the sense of finding, just researching pages that kind of relate to the special warfare community. Maybe not necessarily one was created by the Navy itself, but just a social media page. And finding the applicants that are commenting on those, saying that they're interested or what they need to do to increase certain physical activities or anything like that. And just reaching out to those people. That's helped me with social media, prospecting at least.
Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
really good.
Yeah. Professor Voelz, what feedback have you received from the special operations community about candidates' readiness, and how have you used that to improve your recruiting efforts?
The feedback we've gotten is, they need to work out more.
Okay.
Especially in the pool. Like we just mentioned, the pool is where everybody struggles. The pool humbles everybody that gets into it.
Yeah, there aren't too many physical activities you can do where you could die if you don't breathe right. Right.
Yeah.
You can drown in the pool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, most of the feedback we've gotten, they need to work out more consistently, put a lot more work in, especially in the pool. Be doing training with and without masks on, right? Because when you take a PST, you're allowed to wear a mask. But when you get to your pipeline, there's going to be a point that you're not wearing a mask. And if that's the first time you're doing it, you're out of luck. Yeah. If you have no idea how to breathe out of your nose opposed to out of your mouth now, or your eyes are burning from the chlorine for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely get the pool a lot more.
Okay. Last question for the both of you. What advice do you have for Recruiting Nation to better equip all recruiters with the tools to find the best special operations candidates?
Like I said earlier, do your research. Right? If you don't know answer about the pipeline or where they're going to go or how a applicant should be training this or how they should look into this, find out. Ask a question. I've ran into a lot of where I'm talking to people, and it would seem like the only reason that they decide to move forward with us and not go to the Marines or they go to Air Force, right, or even go Army, is because of the knowledge. I can lay out the entire pipeline for them for the next 2 years and say, here's most likely what you're going to do. Here's where you're going to be. Right. Here's how to prepare for this part. Here's how to prepare for this part. When they see that, they kind of understand, oh, he actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that product that you're talking about, is that something you made, or is that something that's in the e-toolbox?
I believe there's one in the e-toolbox. The one I have is one I just made. That I kind of just made a whole little PowerPoint that I bring to like high school presentations.
Yeah. So I think after this, we'll have to make sure that we do have it in the e-toolbox. But I think it's a great example for Recruiting Nation, laying out a visual of what that pipeline looks like, whether you're EOD or whether you're a CO or SB, you name it within NSO, of what it means, because knowledge is power, right? And I really like what you just said, that some of the reasons that people choose us over other services is because we're completely transparent about what the process is and what the risks are, right? Like, we tell them, hey, look, there's a high attrition rate through this thing. You got to be the best, which, kind of gets after that. I want to serve at the higher level, and I want to challenge myself to this thing that is so hard, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good.
And do you have anything last for the recruiters out there? Parting words, straight off the Spruill?
I would just say utilize your COIs, utilize your future sailors, make them COIs as well. The younger generation, I firmly believe, makes decisions based on the decision making of their peers. So with that, if they have a friend that joins and they're super excited about it, that 18-year-old, 21-year-old, whatever, may also feel the same way if they made the decision themselves. So utilize your COIs, utilize your future sailors, get the advertisement. That might not just help you with spec war, that may help you with NCO as well.
Yeah, going after this, the high quality market that NSO requires does nothing but help you everywhere.
Right.
Right. Because the higher the AFQT, and the higher, the better on the ASVAB, the more rates that they're eligible for. Does nothing but help you, and it helps your organization, helps all of us. It's a really great point. I really like the point you made about, make the delayed entry program, future sailors, COIs, right? That people make decisions among their peers. And when you find somebody that is, a good candidate for NSO, they tend to hang out with other people that have similar capabilities and aspirations, other members of their team, as you mentioned before when we were talking.
Yes, sir.
That's such a great point, right? It's sort of a self-generating set of opportunities.
Right. Yes, sir.
It's really good.
That's awesome. And before we have closing remarks from Admiral Waters, I would just like to say, having sat in on this conversation, Recruiting Nation, we know what the mission set is. We know what Commander's intent is. And we have two amazing petty officers here that have a bias for action. We heard them operating at a level of mastery, not being told what to do, creating a PowerPoint, taking the workout materials to the sailors. And even though they have different approaches, they're still getting after it. So just want to motivate you all to do that, to continue to make mission.
Yeah.
Sir, you have any closing remarks?
Yeah. Hey, this was a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking time out. I realize there was some volunteering going on, but I do appreciate you taking the time to be here, spend some time with us. I hope you benefit from, your time in the headquarters, just seeing how things are operating here, and you can take that back to your NTAGs and your brothers and sisters back there. The work that you're doing is super meaningful, right? You saw at the ops brief this morning, it all aggregates up to really big numbers. But the key to this is that every one of you, the two of you and everyone on camp that's out in Recruiting Nation watching this, doing their part each and every day, just running the play every day, doing the things they need to do, working the depth pool, looking at social media, all the stuff, right? You know the things. Phone power, school visits, all of it aggregates to mission success. And you have a great attitude. You're doing hard things, very different than your rate from what you did in your last tour. And I think you've learned. I'm sure that you've learned a ton through this time that'll serve you in lots of different ways. Right, the ability to interact with other people and to be effective salesmen is a tool that will stay with you for the rest of your lives. So I certainly appreciate what you're doing, and look forward to seeing more great things out of both of you.
Yes, sir.
So thanks.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Sir, thank you for your time. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Uncharted Waters. See you all next conversation.